you may have noticed a difference in how I talk about AI, and I want to tell you the reasons why it's changed quite a bit in recent months. So a year ago, I was very fatigued by all the talk about AI and ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini and blah, blah, blah. And I shared my thoughts. I was pretty annoyed by it. However, in November of last year, something changed, and that is I had a health scare, and I had to go see a doctor. I could only get in to see this doctor in the afternoon, so while I waited for my appointment to come in, I decided to fire up ChatGPT and tell it what I was experiencing. And sure enough, between it and one other AI helper, it came up with a number of probabilities. They were just like, I don't know, percentages of you might have this, might have that. And I noticed that they were very different from what Google was listing, because I used Google as well. And the the overall thing was an 81% likelihood that I had this very specific, very rare type of abscess on my tonsil in the back of my throat. And I thought, this is so weird. I don't get tonsillitis, or at least I didn't think I did. And so I just kind of sat on it. Took a couple naps, waited for my doctor appointment, went to the doctor. And I was expecting them to say, oh, yeah, you have strep throat. It's classic strep throat. My daughter had strep throat a couple weeks prior, thanks to her being in wrestling. And I just thought, it's strep. So they did a rapid strep test, and the doctor looked at it and blah, blah, blah. Strep came back negative. So the doctor comes in, takes a look at it again, and she says, you know what? There's a very rare type of throat infection, kind of abscess that happens on the tonsils, and I think that's what we're looking at here. And so her total demeanor changed, and she said, this can get serious really fast. So if you worsen, she said, I'm going to give you a shot. If you worsen in the next 4 hours, get to a hospital. Anyway, I did end up going to the hospital. I was rushed to an ER in the middle of the night to a Knoxville hospital, spent 3 days in the hospital, intensive care unit. It turned into sepsis, and I was fighting for my life for a few days. But it all started with AI. It all started with realizing when I got out of the hospital and things fell into place for me, and I realized that Google got it wrong, but AI got it right. That's when I realized that this was not something that I could just kind of ignore. So through the months since then, I have been pressing myself more and more to try and understand how can I put this to use? What are the origins of it? I've had a very lively debate with artists and creatives about the role of AI and what AI is and isn't doing. And I want to talk about more. I want to talk more about that. But before I get into any of that stuff, I wanted to share with you what's changed, because if you've been following my posts or just casually kind of reading commentary from me over the last year about AI, you've probably noticed a shift. I had people even sending me articles that are very anti-AI, and that's when I realized that, oh, wait a minute, I have not publicly shared my shift about AI and how it's changed. So I wanted to share that. In the coming weeks, I'm going to be talking a lot more about it and talking about what I'm doing with it, how I'm investing time and money into AI and making it more and more part of the Brand Shepherd ecosystem. We have an AI companion. His name is Quinn, and he's helping out quite a bit with what we're doing. I've got a couple of projects going on, a whole bunch of stuff to share. And I want to focus in on AI and creative services, because I think that's where there's a lot of chatter and a lot of nervousness related to what's going on in our industry and how that relates to how we serve brands and people behind those brands. But before we get into any of that stuff, I wanted to make sure that I cleared the air on kind of my shift, my tone shift, my understanding shift about AI and how I've embraced it. I love this era we're in. I'm old enough to remember the world before the internet, which is cool. And so now I can say I can remember the world before AI, and my kids will be able to say that. And yet, I think we have some really cool things at our hands right now, and it's only going to get better as time goes by. More on that later, but for now, you know where I'm coming from.